Good evening, book lovers. Welcome to another episode of Cath-Lit Live. I am your host, Amy Cattapan. Happy almost summer. I have 3 days of school left to go. By the time some of you see this, I will probably be on my summer break, but I'm right now down to 3 days left. So happy almost summer to all of you out there. Thanks for joining me again. If you're new to Cath-Lit Live, here's what we do. We bring you interviews with Catholic authors who have new books that have just released or are about to release. And today's kind of a combo deal, because we're talking about two books. I think that's where my mind was going with the duo. We're talking about two books, really. The first two books in a new series called the Chalice series by author Erin Lewis. So the first book came out in January, and that book was called Firetender. And then the second book in the series is coming out at the end of this month, and that book is called Enkindle in Me. And again, this is the Chalice series by author Erin Lewis. Erin is a first-time author who has combined her interest in writing fiction with her love of her Catholic faith and her desire to support religious vocations. Her inspiration for writing the Chalice series came 3 years ago when she completed the story of characters she loved from over 20 years prior. She lives with her husband and 4 children in Georgia. Please help me welcome to the show, Erin Lewis. Hi, Erin.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Thanks. I'm great.
So glad to have you here. I mentioned that we're going to be talking about the first two books in your series, the Chalice series. So tell us a little bit about what these first two books in your series are about.
Well, the first two books are about a protagonist named Dallas. Dallas's impulsive decisions have led to disaster in the past for his best friend and himself. After learning to accept God and serving a 3.5-year prison sentence, Dallas must face the challenges of reintegrating into a secular world amidst internal and external temptations, all while struggling to discern God's path for his life.
All right. Sounds like it's a lot about discernment and dealing with your choices, huh?
Yes.
Okay. So I know that this started, you had the idea for the story, or at least these characters 20 years ago. So can you tell us a little bit about that? How did you come up with them? Was it the characters first, story first? And then what was it like to kind of pick this up again so many years later?
It was really mostly the characters first. I was in high school and I created Dallas, who's the protagonist. I didn't really know at the time he was the protagonist, actually. I liked his best friend better, named Channing. And so I created these two characters. And the story, I put it aside. I was in high school, so I liked to do that kind of creative stuff in high school, maybe a little in college. And then I got married straight out of college, started having kids, homeschooling my kids. So I kept all my writing, but I didn't do anything more to it except occasionally look at it. So as happened with a lot of people, COVID shutdowns happened in March 2020. And all my kids' activities were canceled. I mean, we weren't even going to church. So I pulled it out. My oldest daughter's especially interested in writing and literature. All my kids really enjoy it, but I knew that the characters were geared more toward her age. So it's like, I'm going to read this and maybe share it with her. And I was like, oh no, this is bad. But I loved the characters and remembered loving them so much. I said, how could I have just left them like this? Their story is pointless. And I suddenly knew what I needed to do with the main character, with Dallas, and just had this vision for his life, the whole storyline. And once I realized, okay, what's missing from these characters' lives is God. That's what because they're searching for something. They're on this journey, they're on this road trip, and they're looking for something. And I realized, oh, it's God. And that's like the missing piece of the puzzle. So as soon as I figured that out, I just knew what to do with them. And I had like the bare bones of what is now the first half of the first book. But a lot of it changed enormously as I just kept writing. And I just couldn't stop. I just kept going. But yeah, it was a little bit weird to revisit something that I'd created 20 years ago. And as it was created 20 years ago, it was set 20 years ago. So I kept that setting. The first book, Firetender, takes place in the late 90s because that's when I started it. but now the series keeps going and up closer to modern day if I get through all the way to the 5th book.
So let's talk a bit more about these characters. So I know in this first book, you've got these two friends. They're very close. They end up homeless. They have this issue with law enforcement. The second book, I believe it's Dallas, the main character, who ends up being romantically pursued by someone you said is really like his antagonist. So tell me about how you come up with your characters and these different challenges that they're facing.
Really, I've based it all around that main character, Dallas. Any other characters I've created since then have been to challenge him, both in difficult, negative ways that he has to overcome and in positive ways. So his sidekick character in book 1 was always there with him. But any additional characters I've created since then, there's a mentor character who's a priest who you meet in the first book, and he follows Dallas through the series. He's kind of like his father figure, his touch point that he keeps coming back to when he needs support, he needs advice. Father Benedict is not easy on him, but he's always there to support him. He challenges him to do the right thing, to think through his decisions better. He helps him find faith in God. But then there's difficult characters too. In the book 2, Samantha, as you said, yes, is the antagonist. And she's a source of temptation to Dallas. She has a difficult past, so does he, but she's not at the same place he is, as he's come to surrender himself to God's plan more, and she's not on the same page. And so that's where the challenge comes in for him in that book. In Firetender in book 1, there's another antagonist who's physically a challenge to Dallas, where there's actual fights and some violence. There are themes that I would consider somewhat adult themes because of these antagonist characters. They offer a lot of present day challenges that are, kind of a tough, gritty thing. So I don't recommend the book series really for anyone under about age 18, just because of that, because of the portrayal of some of these hard issues, but very real issues that come up today, that people have to face, challenges to their faith and to their morals and values.
So I know your faith's very important to you, and I know you really want to support religious vocations, but what is the message that you're hoping your readers are going to take away from the Chalice series?
I hope that people who read it, especially younger people, take away the message that God does have a plan and a purpose for their lives. I was just talking the other day with a friend of my daughter's and saying, I wish that when I was in high school and younger, that was more of a directly spoken thing, that you have to think about and make conscious decisions, and that God really does have a certain plan and a path for you to follow, and that active discernment, whether it's religious life, marriage, just to think about things before making decisions. The dedication in Firetender, I'm trying to make it be in focus here, actually says that it's to all young adults seeking God's will for their paths in this earthly life. And that's, when I say young adult, it's not the YA book genre.
Right.
That's the,
right. The church
adult
definition of young adult, people in their 20s and 30s. That's the church definition.
Yes. New adult.
Different from the literary definition.
Yes. New adults. So 18 through their 20s, maybe early 30s too. And I've had other people read it who are my age. I've had people read it who are 10, 15, 20 years old. I've had a lot of different people reading it. And so I guess if you've got children maybe who are young adults and you're a mother reading it, then I would hope that it would still bring across that message of supporting young people in what their vocation may be. Especially the priesthood, it comes in as a strong theme throughout the books, and my youngest brother's a priest. And so that's where my passion for vocations has come from. It's been strengthened by that because he was ordained 8 years ago and he's 9 years younger than me. Just knowing that it could help a lot when you're a young man, if people around you would just, acknowledge that it's something that could happen. He always said, I thought priests were all from Ireland and 80 years old. Like you had to be, because those were the kinds around him. But to actually say, no, the church needs you, and that God is calling some of you to the priesthood, so that it's like an aha, oh, that actually could be me. Yeah. To help in that discernment process, just to give it as an option.
Yeah, awesome. Well, where can people find out more about you and your books? Where can we send them?
I am on Instagram and on Facebook. My name is author Erin Lewis on there. And I have a website that is the same. It's just authorerinlewis.com. So author Erin Lewis awesome. Finds me in most places. And then the first book is available on Amazon. Is published by Quiver Publishing, and it's on Amazon right now. It was released at the end of January, and then book 2, Enkindle and Me, will be released on June 29th. It's the Feast of the Conversion of St. Paul. And so starting on that day, it can be found on Amazon. It's on Kindle and paperback, both.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on and being my guest tonight on Cath-Lit Live.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. We're going to wave goodbye to Erin. Bye, Erin.
Bye.
All right. Thank you to everyone who joined me tonight for another episode of Cath-Lit Live. If you've read the first book in Erin's series, let us know what you think. Tell us in the comments. And if you haven't, and it sounds interesting, go check it out because it's already out there. And you won't have to wait long for the second book because it's just a matter of a few weeks before book 2 in the series will come out from Quiver Publishing. And as always, don't forget, if you're interested in the Hello Prayer app, use my link hello.app/cathlitlive. They are a sponsor for the show. So if you use my link, that helps us out here and keeps the show running. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can always get upcoming episodes of Cath-Lit Live. So until next time, I'm just going to wish everybody a happy reading.